You're chairing, so we want to I'll present the agenda, and then you can start us in terms of reviewing last time, so they have to review the minutes and some other things. If I can pull that up. Boy, this is so awkward. We're getting used to it, but it's still awkward. Okay. All right, so there's the agenda. So if the chair wants to start with that.
Okay, and I'd like to welcome everyone. This is actually a different way of doing these. I think it's always a struggle when we can't see one another face to face, but we're going to make do with what we've got, and I'm sure we're going to move ahead accordingly. The first item on the agenda is the roll, and Michelle's already taken that, so I think we're good. Any questions on that? Okay, next one is the approval of the agenda. You guys did receive a copy of that. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as drafted?
I make the motion to approve.
Okay, that's Megan. Is there a
second?
Oh,
okay, I guess the second then is Chris.
Yeah, dream team.
Okay, any additional discussion on agenda? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Takes a second to unmute, doesn't it?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. The next item is the approval of the previous minutes. You guys also had an opportunity to look at those. Is there a motion to approve those as drafted?
Make the motion to approve.
Okay, Megan again. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Was that Abby?
Yes.
Okay, Abby. Any discussion on this? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Now I understand how hard it is to do this online and try to get all the students to sing a song. I couldn't imagine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Any opposed? Nay? Okay, the previous agenda minutes stand as presented. My understanding is we are welcoming a new member to the site base. I don't even know who that individual is yet.
Hey, Heather Blanford, welcome.
That's me. Hey.
Okay, all right, great. Glad to see you here, Heather. But yeah, we do welcome you, and it's good to see your face because I know your heart is in Warner, and the work that we have coming forward is you being on this will definitely benefit from that. So I'm so glad you're part of the site base now.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is closed session, and I'd like to see if there's a motion to go into closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
Okay, I think that was Megan again.
Doctor.
Is there a second?
I will second that. This is Allison.
Allison seconds. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries. We're now moving into closed session.
Okay, so we need to wait.
This button.
We don't have to make a motion to come out of close.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Chris. Thanks.
Make a motion to leave closed session. That's Megan.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now going into open session. Aaron, are we live?
Well, I'm just, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to go back into open session?
I'll make a motion to go back into open session.
I second it.
Okay, I think who
Abby made the motion.
made the motion, and it was seconded by
Nina?
okay. So we are, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now back into open session, and that the next item up is our training, and it's going to be covered and led by Michelle Gadberry. And for those that may not be aware, the Site-Base did give approval for Michelle Gadberry, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Jessamine County Schools, to guide through the process. She really is doing nothing more than guide Site-Base through this work to make sure that we're meeting all of the regulatory requirements and procedural requirements for the hiring of the new principal. Thank you.
All right. In your packet, your folder, what you're wanting to look for now is the Warner Principal Search Training document. It says Training 1, April 2020. It looks like this. So if you were here last year, you remember getting a little booklet, and this time it's an electronic booklet. And in that packet, you'll see kind of the contents here. And then we have a timeline, which we're going to come back to because we need to talk about the selection options and open meeting law first. And then this is our agenda here. So we're going to talk about the different selection options, a little bit about open meeting laws. We're going to develop our timeline based on some of the things that we know that we want to happen. And then we're going to do a little mini training on reviewing applications and resumes and references and things like that. I'm going to tell you that this is very different doing it this way. There's a lot of things that are built into are built for small group discussion and things like this, but we will get through this, and hopefully it'll be some beneficial information for you all in helping to make your selection. So if you go to this next page where it says principal selection, they had some changes recently in legislation. They've given you a couple different options. This is actually from the statute here and talks about how you all make decisions about personnel, how you hire teachers. But when it's a principal, it's a little bit different. First of all, the outgoing principal isn't serving on the committee. That's why Matt's here as your chairperson. And then on the next page, it talks about you all having access to the applications of everyone certified for that position. The principal shall be elected on a majority vote. And just a reminder, you all have 14 positions on your council. One of those is vacant, but that vacant position still counts. So we'll have to have 8 out of 14 if we do go to a vote. Just a reminder on that. And then just states that no principals have been previously removed from a position can be considered. And you're going to get training today in recruitment and interviewing. And the council shall select the trainer to deliver that training. So we kind of covered all of that. There's another option, though, that came about a few years ago, which is called the alternative principal selection process. And you all have a right to hear about this and make a decision if you wanted to do that. And these next few sentences here kind of talk about this. But essentially, we would still do our open records and open meetings law training. But then at that point, nothing else would happen until the superintendent brought back a candidate for you all to consider. So basically, you would not be doing any of the interviewing. You could interview, but you wouldn't be doing any of the preliminary screening. The superintendent would do all of that for you and just bring you back the one candidate that he recommended, and you all would be able to interview that person and make a decision whether you wanted that person. So that's
And-
the alternative principal option.
And I'll chime in and just tell you I discourage that option. You guys actually, can make that, but I think it's really important to use site-based the way it was intended. So I encourage you to go the route that we went last year.
So the other option is, of course, that you all and Mr. Morris are together as the council, and he has a vote as well, but you all have votes, and then you work on that together. So on this page here, it kind of gives you the summary, in terms of whether you want to use the alternative process or whether you want to use the traditional process. And so what are your all's thoughts on that? Any discussion?
I agree with Matt. It's better to use SBDM the way it was intended and go with the original route.
I think the traditional.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will. Michelle, do we need a motion now to do that?
I think it's just a consensus decision.
Okay.
Chris, any thoughts? You've done this more than me.
I didn't hear, you broke up. What'd you say?
This is just a consensus decision, correct? On which route to take.
Yes.
That's
As if
I
I'm
mean,
an expert, but yeah, I agree with you. You're 100% right, Michelle.
I just that one suddenly hit me, and I thought I don't see anything in this that tells me any differently. So barring that, there's only a few things you really have to vote on. Most everything.
Everybody agrees. Let's go.
Yeah.
I have read Warner's bylaws, and they do use consensus. So
And I will, since there are new members on the board, I will tell you guys the way I prefer to operate with this. The superintendent does screen the applications, and I will bring before you guys all of the applications that I will categorize those and tell you which ones that I recommend, and then we'll have the discussions from there.
I have the bylaws right here. I didn't print them out, even just so I have them all. So, all right. So we're going to go with the traditional approach. Go back to the document here. Matt, I'm kind of with you, though. I still think we probably should make a motion and second it and then agree by consensus. Let's do that. It's better to do it and not need it than to not.
It says it at the bottom there, Michelle, actually, under the summary on page 7. Well, the council will vote or reach consensus on which option they want to.
Yep, there you go. Just normally need the other pieces for consensus, too. So do we have a motion?
I make a motion to go with option 2, the original process.
Is there a second? Okay. Allison, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 We have Victoria's chat eye there.
Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries as presented.
Next thing is a little bit about open meetings. And one thing I did want to share with you all is that we did, this meeting is being live linked. It's on the Warner website, but we did set up such that the comments were closed because you all, by your bylaws, have open participation, but don't allow communication from the public or observers, which is what most councils have. So there wasn't any reason to allow comments on that. And with the teleconference, it even makes it a little trickier. So we've set said that today. Lovely. This is our open records law, and I'm going to just kind of read through this because it's pretty important and want to make sure everybody knows that, we are generally open meetings, but there's just a few things that aren't. And so when we go into closed session, there's some specific things there. All meetings have a quorum of the members of any public agency in which any kind of business is discussed or action is taken are generally open meetings. But discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student without restricting that employee's, members, or student's right to a public hearing if requested can be more of a closed session. So when we're discussing specific people or discussing those kinds of important details, we talk about those things in a closed session, but we don't make decisions. So again, you see that we give notice that we're going to have a closed session, which we did. We have those only after a motion is made and carried by a majority vote in the open public session. No final action may be taken at a closed session, and no matters may be discussed at a closed session other than those publicly announced prior to convening the closed session. So your interviews and deliberations, when we do that, will be closed. We will announce those meetings 24 hours in advance. We will start the meeting and go into closed as the first agenda item. When it's over, we come out of that, make any decisions necessary, and end the meeting. Any questions about that? Okay, hearing none, our next agenda item is actually looking at the timeline. You have that in your packet as well, but it just has only has one date on it, and that is, actually has the 7th and the 16th, because we used that your last council meeting to count as the first one where you selected the training and selected the training day. So go back here. So in between now and the next training, we will do our survey. So focus groups will be more of a survey sent out, and I'll work with Patrice to make sure we send those out in the way that's confidential and protects people's identity. And then we have the next training is where you all will come back and look at what new data we have. And then you develop your reference check questions and your interview questions based on the data you have from the focus group information. I'll call it focus group information. So how much time do we think we need in between those two is kind of the big question. And when do we think we want to be done completely? And maybe we work backwards from there. What do you think, Matt?
I think that would be a good talking about where we want to end, and then make sure we're building back. That seemed wise, because obviously I think we want to try to have somebody in place at the right time. So.
Yeah. Reminder
Chris,
that we're taking applications through May 1st.
Yeah.
So we won't have all of our applicants till then, but that doesn't mean we couldn't send a survey out between now and then.
Right. So Chris, when you think of your position this year, is it safe to say that we want to try to have somebody in place by a June 1st timeline?
Gosh, it's like we're on the same wavelength today, Matt. Yeah,
And I'm not texting you or anything, right?
You're not even texting me. Yeah, I think if this person we had somebody in place by June 1st, that would be really beneficial to them, but also to the faculty and staff at Warner to start off with a really strong start and have that summer to do work and get acclimated to everybody. So, mine was May 1st, and that worked pretty well. I think June 1st would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And we're not too far off of the same timeline you all had last year, but I don't think I will need as much time because since there won't be any in-person focus groups. So I think that's probably pretty doable. Anybody else have a thought on June 1st?
I like June 1st. I think it worked well last time to give time for training and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a comfort
And that's actually,
going.
go ahead.
I'm talking over somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I just think it would be a comfort going into the summer knowing that decision.
Mm-hmm. Now, June
that would
1st
be
is
on
actually
no later than-
Monday. Okay, no later than.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was looking too. So if you go back to your timeline, then are we talking about trying to do interviews? If we kind of work our way back, are we talking about trying to do interviews like the May 18th week? I know it's going to be a little bit easier since we have so many limitations on being able to do some of our things, but would that be what we would want to try to go for interview-wise?
Do we want to set one day or just say week of?
No, I meant that week, just scheduling them somewhere in that week.
Yeah.
I think that would be good, and I think especially considering the kind of the timeline we have with NTI work stopping, teachers would have the flexibility to maybe do some of that work during the day as opposed to infringing on evening time. But that's just me.
So do we want to set a whole day for interviews now, or are we good with leaving that a little bit loose until we get?
I'm good with the loose because we're going to come back together.
Okay.
For
That's
the
what,
meetings.
that's what I'm.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Then,
talking
so
the
our
week of the
next
18th.
training.
Are we talking the week of the 18th? Is that what I heard? Okay, just want to make sure we block some time out. Okay.
Well, that may be it, probably the end of that week is what I would say, because as I look at if we're able to get surveys out at the beginning of next week, which shouldn't be a problem, and give them a week.
Michelle, will you put that document back up that you were sharing?
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking through the time we'll need to compile all the data. Use that week. So if we set our second training, maybe the 12th or the 14th of May, and that one will be
And that's an all day.
all day, yeah, where we're just working all day on it. Looking at calendars, does anybody have any restrictions on the 12th?
Can we set the 12th? Matt, are we going to have principal meeting in the morning that day?
We won't if we're doing this.
I know. I'm good with that.
I can move stuff on the 12th. The 14th works better, but I can make either one of them work. So you guys tell me.
I can make the 14th work. I have a training scheduled with teachers, but I can go ahead and tell Kelly Helton to do that one if I have to. If the 14th works better for everybody. I would like to get some dates on the calendar just because that time does get pretty busy in our world with arranging everything for teachers during that time.
So
I'm actually going to be in Missouri, moving my daughter to St. Louis that week. I can do anything online. The 12th would work better, but I could make the 14th work.
The 12th works better for me. I have an advisory meeting on the 14th too. I can change it around if I have to.
12 works better for me.
Yeah, we had set a meeting on the 12th, Matt, but I think we can move that if we need to. The 12th works better for everybody.
I can move principals meeting, cabinet meeting. So yeah,
Okay.
12th works better. We'll block 12th.
Yep. Anybody speak now or forever hold your peace if the 12th is bad. Looks good. Okay, so hold May 12th, and again, we don't know at this time whether this will be virtual or available to do in some kind of an in-person way, but we'll just figure that out as we go.
If it becomes in person, is there a way we'll do it virtually?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah, for you, Monica, absolutely. Nobody else could do it that way, but we do it for you.
That'll be training too, is that correct?
That is reviewing the applicants or reviewing the focus group data, making decisions about the criteria that we want to use to look at the applicants, and then developing your interview questions. We'll actually start looking at the.
Yeah, show them that list again, Michelle. They can see that.
Yeah, it's all on there.
Training too, because it's that's how it starts on number 4, and then it does all. Okay.
Yep.
So that's a pretty full day.
Yes. Yes, for sure. So, all right. I think we've got our timeline.
Can we set the day on the week of the 18th, or are we saying we're leaving that flexible?
I'm okay with setting it. We're always at a little bit of the person we want to talk to might have a restriction.
We could set 2 days and then know that work with their schedules, and then obviously if we have someone that we're really wanting to interview and they're not available on those, we'll figure out how to make it work.
Matt, we're pretty tied up that week.
Yeah. So I was thinking it would have to be the 18th, 19th, or 22nd.
Yeah.
Can we just tentatively set 18th and 19th?
Sure.
If you're good with us not having principal meeting on that 19th day.
Yeah. You keep throwing that principals meeting back in my face.
No, it's on every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I just want to make sure that.
And especially, I'm good with that if we meet on the 12th, because then we're giving applicants a week. We've got to give them enough notice on the interview. I mean, that's only fair.
And we're probably not talking full days. Then we're probably talking holes during the day, so we can do that.
Okay. So
I just want to. I know I'm probably not supposed to talk, but I just need to say that the internet is going to be down on the 18th in the afternoon for an undetermined amount of time.
So morning and then the second day.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be about 5 or 10 minutes, but the state's upgrading something. So.
Do we need the internet to do an interview? Well, maybe.
Yeah, I think you will. Yeah, that's what I meant. I mean, not like you. Well, and you can't go to Panera. So, anyway.
Yeah. So the morning, and then the of the 18th, and then the 19th all day, knowing that we're not going to be spending that much time doing all these, but we'll try to fit them in with whoever the applicants are.
Okay.
Michelle, are you going to send
Yes.
invite for some of these days? That just helps.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming
absolutely.
Right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll block the morning of the 18th and the day of the 19th. And we're assuming that big event that was supposed to happen on the 19th is not going to be in the normal fashion. Matt?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
We had a banquet scheduled on the 19th, but have we?
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that.
Okay. I didn't figure, but.
Yeah, it'll have to be canceled. We won't be able
Okay, I wasn't sure. Just making sure if we didn't
so.
double book something. All right, so we got our dates. Yay! The next thing we're going to be doing is giving you all some time to kind of look at some applications, talk about some little look-fors and things like that. and just what you want to be looking for in an application. So if you look in your packet, just want to show you where we're at next, and then you're going to get some other things open also. I have way too many different pieces of paper here. Okay, so you want probably leave the packet open right here.
What page is that? Sorry.
It is 10. And so I just want to talk a little bit. I don't know how many of you all have ever participated in hiring of any teachers. A lot of you all probably have been on a committee like that, or if you're hiring in your job, parents that are not in the school system. You want to look at everything. You want to make sure that when you're looking at the application and you're looking at any reference letters, resumes, emails, anything that they've given you, that you look at it all very critically and kind of try to think about what criteria you have in mind for that person, what you are looking for in a person to hire a principal. You want to read everything. You want to look for consistency. And if they say on the application that they did pole vaulting, and then on their resume they say that they did long jump, you might question, why are they having different things on both of those documents? Grammar and spelling, is a big deal, and it probably seems in this day and age people are not as cautious about those kinds of things. But when there's misspelled words, I've had people send me applications where they misspelled their own name. And it's to me, that's just a detail thing. You're not taking the time to double check and detail. And so you want to look at that. Again, connections to the criterion, and you're going to develop your criterion based on the focus visits or the focus data that we'll have. And then, quickly, when we get to the applications, you want to look for anyone that's not qualified. And remember that, of course, they have to be certified as a principal. We are preferring in our posting, we stated that we prefer some administrative experience already. So those are some of the things you might think about there. Matt, any things you want to add before they look at the sample applications?
No, I think you did a good job. Thank you.
So we're going to do three little parts. Jerry, have you done this before?
Oh, sorry. I was laughing at my dog. Sorry.
Oh. I thought you were like, oh no, the application's again. But I will say, I did tell Nina earlier, because she was on the council last year, I said, you can feel free to tune out a little bit because you have looked at these fake applications before, but I felt like it was still important to participate in the whole training as a whole. So
yeah,
in your folder, and again, this is meant to be a group activity, so there's not any easy way to do it, but I'm going to ask you to look at the 3 applications. So you will see, I'm going to show you on here, you've got copy of candidate, and it's not applications, I say that, they're resumes actually. So candidate 1's resume, candidate 2 resume, and candidate 3 resume. So take some time to look at each of these 3, take a few notes, look for things that match the criteria that I showed you last in the search training. So if you're able to keep these open in tabs, that's why I put it in a folder like that. If you're able to keep that in a tab, this is our criteria we want to use for this activity. So assume that this is what you all have come up with, and these are the things that you're looking for in a principal, and review the 3 resumes. And when you feel like you're ready to share some of your feedback, take some notes, jot some ideas. We'll take, 10 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes on this. Give me a yes or a thumbs up, or I'm ready in the chat. Any questions? All right. Go to work. Matt, you mute your microphone.
I'm good whenever. For some reason, I can't get the chat to open.
I'm back. Diane.
I'm ready whenever. Also,
Great. Anybody need more time?
I'm good.
Oops. All right. Sorry, I meant to do this. So, okay. So I'm going to flip over here. And I've got the criteria in front of me. So, and just thought you all might want to give some first impressions of each of the three candidates' resume, candidate 1, 2, and 3. Anybody have a thought on candidate 1?
what stood out to me immediately about candidate 1 was the it was a little rough. It read a little rough. The wording wasn't great. Incomplete sentences, things like that should not be there, but just a cursory proofreading.
Yeah, her career objective alone, the very first thing was just very kind of all over the place, and like you said, was not grammatically correct. Also with her, and I may have missed this, but it said she had a PhD in literature and a master's in education, but I didn't see any like administrative degrees, even though she had experience, but it might have been like a private school or something. I'm not sure. So she had degrees, but it didn't seem like an administrative.
Yeah, good question. What about the private school? It does look like private schools that she's been at. Any thoughts on that?
Just different. Different than looks like. I need to go back to it.
I wrote down, and I didn't write down specifics, but it didn't have a super like student-centered feel to it. I mean, I guess it was like listing her accomplishments, maybe career-oriented, but not as student-centered as sometimes we would hope to have.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was a vague description. There weren't any specifics as far as her achievements or things that she has led or been successful with or has studies on. It all just seems like a vague description of it.
I kept saying I'm an expert in this, I'm an expert in that, but didn't give any examples.